Now from the University of Okoboji, it's Okoboji Broadcast with Jeff Thee.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Blaine with the Iowa Great Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce, and it's my privilege to welcome you here this evening. I want to do a couple thank yous as we're getting going here. There are still some seats available. If you'd like to sit down, you certainly can. If you don't, if you want to stand, that's perfectly fine too. So I just want to make sure that I thank Kylie and Morgan from the Chamber for all the promotion and help with setup for this. They've done a really good job for getting the word out, and I really appreciate everything that they do. Also, a big thank you to John and his crew here at Historic Arnolds Park for the hosting it and allowing us to be here to provide this public meeting for you guys. So let's give Arnolds Park a big round of applause. We've been getting a lot of phone calls, a lot of people inquiring at the Chamber about the road construction that's going to be happening, and a lot of the things that we're getting asked is, you know, is the road going to be shut down all summer and things like that, and we just wanted to make sure that we're providing accurate information and have the right answers from the right people. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Dakin Schultz, who is a transportation planner with the Iowa DOT District 3, and he is going to do the presentation. It's a rather short presentation, but we're going to leave plenty of time for question and answers this evening as well. So please welcome Dakin.
I was worried the TV was going to time out, but it's the computer instead. So give me a second here, and as I get this going, I just want to take a minute to thank Blaine and thank the Chamber. We appreciate the opportunity to come up and do this. Looks like there's nothing else going on a cold Tuesday night on a March day up here. So we do appreciate everybody coming out. And we know everybody's concerned about the project. And so I want to walk through the project and kind of give you an overview of it and what's going to happen, what to expect, and then open it up for questions. Before I do that, I want to introduce the DOT staff that are here, and we've got one of the contractors' staff here as well as the consultant. So I am looking for, how can I not see Darwin? Oh gosh, of course, in the back, Darwin Bishop. He is our construction engineer for Iowa DOT District 3. He is also currently the resident construction engineer out of Cherokee, and so the day-to-day issues up here are his. So no, he'll be in charge of oversight on the project. And then I've got Todd Huyu here, who is one of our design engineers. There's Todd. Todd has worked extensively on this project with Doug Holly from Shimmer & Associates, and I saw there, boy, they are working me over here. Doug is over here, he's with Shimmer & Associates. He is our consultant that helped put together the design. And then we've got Dean Herbst in the back, and he is the project manager for Cedar Valley Construction. So once the presentation's over, we'll stick around and take some questions. We'll do it in an open forum. We also have the scrolls for spring of 23. We can walk over there and talk. So without any more delay, I want to give you a little bit of an overview of the project. First of all, the project is replacement of pavement. So this is sidewalk to sidewalk. And it's from Okoboji View Road in Arnolds Park all the way, Okoboji Grove Road in Arnolds Park through Okoboji View Avenue in Okoboji. Construction is set to begin next Monday. And I'm going to say it now, and I'll say it more than once. That's weather permitting. So the project will eventually extend the 3-lane cross-section from Lake Street out here south to 202nd Street. The updates to the sidewalk are to comply with ADA requirements. We've got new barrier rail across the causeway, and that will include some enhanced graphics, some aesthetics to that. And we are going to provide new traffic signals at Lake and Linden Street in Arnolds Park. I want to talk specifically about where you're going to see the work first. So I mentioned the plan, whether Mother Nature providing or allowing. We will start, or the contractor will start with intersection work generally. And what you see there is on top, this is Arnolds Park. This is stage, I'll call it stage 1, stage 2. So the southbound side from Okoboji View through Bennett Drive. We've got Lake Street. We've got some work at Dam. The second stage would then be the opposite half of that. So that'll be the northbound portion of those intersections. Spring of 23 also, we're going to be working at Ackley. So this, I call it the Causeway area. So southbound Ackley and southbound in Okoboji is the Lakeshore Drive, Gordon Drive area. And then for the second half of the spring work, the proposal is to work on the northbound half of Ackley and Gordon. And then the contractor would also like to pave the northbound lane across the causeway. And there's a reason for this. As we worked with the communities of Arnolds Park and Okoboji on this project, the emergency services that are shared between the two communities is crucial. There was concern about, we had talked about doing one-way traffic, sending one lane around. And what we ended up doing is writing it into the contract that when the causeway is closed, and we'll talk about that, that'll be in the fall, that the contractor still has to provide access for emergency services. So they felt it was best to at least have a new paved lane for the emergency service access. So, and then the spring 23 in Okoboji, we're looking at the Lakeshore, southbound Lakeshore, and then northbound on the Gordon Drive side. And then we've also got at Okoboji View, we've got some work there. While this work is going on, so next week, I mentioned the work is slated to begin. We'll send a press release out tomorrow explaining that. But part of that work, at least this first week, will not include what we call the through detour. We've got a detour scheduled for the through traffic, so if you are coming from Jackson heading to Spencer and you've got a semi, we're encouraging you to go around, and that'll be Iowa 9 and 86. But for much of the project, the access, it'll generally be one lane in each direction. Now, we will utilize some side streets for part of that. A little more heavily in Okoboji, as we worked with the communities, they felt it was important to get the work done in chunks, and so we will reroute traffic on Lakeshore to Sanborn for a portion of the fall work. So fall of 2023, well, I'll back up. Spring, I mentioned it's starting next week. The completion for that is May 25th. So that is in the contract. The contractor is done work with the work May 25th. No construction during the tourist season up here, but that doesn't mean that there won't be a DOT presence or some work going on. I assume you know the condition of the roadway. We may have to do some maintenance. That we will, if there's maintenance required out on US 71 during the summer, we'll take care of that. The other thing is you're going to see all kinds of DOT vehicles around, and that's just happens to be the nature of the cycle. We have our quadrennial counts. So this is something that we do every 4 years. We do a corner of the state. Northwest Iowa is this year. So what will happen is we will have car counters, the ropes. You'll see essentially, I'll say kids, mostly college kids sitting in cars at intersections, counting traffic, turning movements, things like that. We utilize that data. It's all public information. We not only utilize it for our projects, but we also utilize it traffic signal requests, things like that. So, all right, fall. So once everything, as we hit Labor Day, the day after Labor Day, September 5th, the contractor will come back in and start the fall session. September 18th is a big day up here. That is when the contractor will close the causeway for 4 weeks to do that work. It is just a tight area. Like I said, they will leave the lanes open for emergency service, the northbound lane. It will be blocked off. Emergency service doesn't mean that you're going to be late for work and you can just rush through there quick. There's specifics to emergency service. So the work in the fall session will be Arnolds Park, Broadway, and Linden Streets. Okoboji, it's mainline work. So that is when we will have one of those local detours utilizing Sanborn and Lakeshore. So mainline to from Gordon Drive, Lakeshore up to Sanborn. And just to demonstrate, I know it's tough to see and I apologize for that. When I say we're leaving traffic one lane in each direction, there are portions in here that are just so tight. That's the geography up here. So in this instance in Arnolds Park, we're showing southbound traffic. We're taking them off at Broadway, bringing them back on at Lake, so some work can be done in between. Spring of 24, Arnolds Park, northbound main line. Okoboji, main line Sanborn to Brooks. And fall of 24, Arnolds Park, southbound main line. And then we've got Okoboji View to Sanborn, main line in Okoboji. I want to talk about the website. You know, part of us coming up here was trying, and why you folks are all here is there's an interest in staying informed on the project. We have built a website for the project, and we're going to keep it up to date. Now, some of that relies on some of our internal communication, and hopefully that there's no hiccups in that. But one of the things it does offer is an opportunity for all you folks to stay informed as well. This is the homepage. It is iowdot.gov/Lake71. Pretty simple. See if this works. So if you go to the website, and this is the subscribe, we aren't going to ask you for a whole lot of information. You've got the opportunity to either do email or text. And all we ask for is your name, and I hope I spell his name right. And that's it. Now, tomorrow, Todd will get that first communication. We don't fill your inbox. Okay, sorry. Well, let's see. So all it does is it says success. So we are back on the, okay. Try that again. Nope. All right. It's okay. We'll get back to it. So I'll show you here in a second. One of the things that we do with the website is we provide as much information as we can to you. Some of this, like the slides, will have, goodness gracious. Oh, there's our website, so apologize, folks. I'll get there. All right. We're back on the presentation. I'm going to flip through it. We'll see if we can't get the website pulled up. There we go. Okay. So, again, hit subscribe. We don't ask for a whole lot. All we and that's it. Hit submit, then you're done. While we're on the website, we've got about the project, give you a brief overview of the project. The project schedule is probably the key portion of this. What we do is we have an interactive map. Hopefully that populates. It did. Perfect. If you are in Okoboji and you're in a certain area and you want to know when you can anticipate the work in front of your location, you can click on it. There it is. Right now, the schedule is spring 24 from Sanborn Avenue to north of Brooks Park Drive. So that hopefully will give you an idea. I want to talk a little bit about the schedule. I mentioned once before about weather permitting, and kind of want to talk a little bit about this. Last year, people were on the golf course at this time. They were riding their bikes. We've had a little different year this year. So the contractor is still anticipating starting Monday, weather permitting. We will get as much as we can get done this year or this spring. If they have something that doesn't get finished, that doesn't mean that they're going to extend into June. That means it'll probably have to roll into the next stage. So when we say that the project is spring, fall, and then spring of 25 as needed, we hope not to need it, but there's likely some work that's going to happen in the spring of 25. Some of the other things you can anticipate, well, on the website, for instance, there's a contact us. If you've got questions or comments, you're welcome to utilize that information. My phone number is on the website. My email is on the website. I will get you the answers if we can get to them, or I'll get them to you eventually. Sometimes some of your questions, if they're specific to a certain location, it may take a little bit. If they're general about the project, we'll get them turned around pretty quick. I want to talk a little bit about some of the questions I've heard already. I think I mentioned the condition of the roadway. The staging is pretty much set in sequence now. We've worked with Okoboji, we've worked with Arnolds Park on that effort to get this set up in a certain manner. So we won't be changing the staging other than for weather purposes. I mentioned the new signals. Lake and Linden are the new signal locations. We did evaluate some additional locations. Dam Road was one of them that I hear more than once. I've heard more than once. That location did not meet signal warrants. Part of the count information, we'll count that intersection again this year and we'll see what happens. But the nice thing is with signals at Broadway and Lake, that should provide some additional gaps for the traffic entering 71 from Dam Road. I guess communications. I want to talk one more thing. So we mentioned the communication effort. We've been working with the chamber to get information out. We've worked with Okoboji Tourism. We've encouraged them to share as much as we put out for them, or send out as much information as we've got, whatever they feel comfortable to their members. If there needs to be more, we'll certainly work on that. We've talked over with Mike Arrett with Dickinson County Emergency Management about putting out messages to help our effort. One of the things we don't want is we don't want anybody to say that they didn't know this was going to happen. The project's been awarded and it's going to happen. And I would love to hear somebody argue the project or the roadway doesn't need replaced. So we've almost replaced it with asphalt and chips now. So, but anyway. So I think what I'll do is I'll open it up for any questions. I'm sure there's going to be questions. Sure.
Dakin, I'm going to ask a question first.
Okay.
You and I have had quite a bit of conversation about access to the businesses and stuff, and I know you touched on that briefly, but there's a lot of business owners in the audience tonight. Could you just kind of go over that a little bit again and reassure us that we're still going to be able to have access to the businesses during construction, if that makes sense?
Sure. Yes. So, access to businesses, we require the contractor to provide access to businesses. Now, access to business doesn't necessarily look like it does today during construction. It may have to be from a side street during a part of that phase. The contractor is going to work with the business owner to provide access, but there's also, it doesn't mean that your driveway is going to necessarily, during that stage, be always paved and right where it is today. So that'll be between you and the contractor as they work in that area.
Thanks, Dakin.
Yep.
I have a really good question. I was going to write you, but I might yet. The stoplights down by Arrowwood during the summer has really been really bad to the place. I had to have a policeman sit out there for a while because they're coming down from the other stoplight above it, and they're driving 70 miles an hour to the one side, all the way through, bypassing everybody. It's pretty bad. It's scary. I had a guy chase me all the way behind my car till I went to the police station because I was blocking him, so he couldn't go 70. And I got people passing me in the middle of the lane when you're doing 30, all the way down to Arnolds Park. Very bad concern. It's really dangerous in the summer.
Okay. So so that's what, Okoboji View, right?
That's where Arrowwood sits on that stoplight.
Yeah.
Up 70.
Okay. Okay. That's what I thought you said. So so it's loop detectors. What else what's all getting replaced up there? Loop detectors and signals? Okay. So it'd be new
Markings need to be marked so they know they have to blend way before they get to them.
Yeah.
It's scary.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. We'll do a durable pavement marking. That is probably something I mentioned. There's going to be some work done in spring of '25. I don't know what the contractor all has planned, but I would anticipate that the durable pavement marking, the permanent pavement marking, or the final pavement markings will be completed in that stage.
And then sometimes they'll turn into Arrowwood and then come out the other side. They go in there and come out around.
I don't know what to tell you on
Yeah,
that
that
one.
sounds like maybe it's a little bit more of a not a construction issue.
Some of that might be law enforcement,
Yeah.
but
I already sent them out there.
okay. All right.
We'll get that one, Paul, and then we'll come over here.
Okoboji Schools. Question, here with my transportation director, but since you're going to allow,
I'm sorry.
allow for emergency access, would they consider our routes going twice a day down there? Since we're on a time limit with kids by code, we can only be on a bus so long.
It would just be one bus.
It'd just be one,
When we have kids on, come through, drop off, we'll go around, coming back. Rather than in the morning, go around, pick them up, come through once they're on.
I'm going to say probably not. I'm sorry. It'll be, I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. So, yeah.
I have a question over here. Anyway, will the side-by-sides or Rangers or whatever those utility vehicles, will they be able to use the fishing bridge or the bridge that connects Okoboji to Arnolds Park?
So, say it one more time. I'm sorry.
Will they be able to use the bike trail bridge?
Well, the bike trail bridge will stay open for bikes and peds. Is that what you're asking?
Will like the
For UTVs and ATVs and four-wheelers and stuff, would they be able to access that or no?
So that we don't have anything to do with that bridge. So I don't know what legally is allowed. I would say it's going to be able to be utilized for its intended purpose. And I imagine if there's an accident on the bridge and emergency service utilizes a UTV to respond, that would still be allowed. But I mean, as far as moving motor vehicle traffic over to your ped bridge, I would guess that's a local question.
Sounds like that would be a question probably.
Yeah, either law enforcement or DCTA.
Any other questions?
The traffic light at Lake Street and Linden Avenue, will that be generally green for north-south traffic and then turn red when there's demand from the east-west traffic?
The primary roadway will be the main green time. So the US 71 will be the primary green. I don't know that you've done.
Yeah, I think that's part of these new counts. Some of the traffic counts are fairly old, and then we had COVID, so I think as traffic gets back to normal, I think that'd be a good time to look at that timing again on those two new signals. So I'd say stay tuned on that. I wouldn't say we have all the answers on the timing yet on those.
Yeah, just have part of the work will be doing signal timing.
Signal timing, yes.
Okay.
Hey, Dakin, you're probably excited to hear from me. Irving. I have a couple of questions. The first one is, how will, as this work is going on, and I don't know if you know these, you probably don't know these answers yet, it's probably going to be a little too early. How will lane widths, as you're doing some of these intersections, what kind of restrictions for oversize might we have? Because some of us move stuff that's kind of big. And then if so, if there's going to be some tight areas, I would encourage us to communicate that on through the website. I think that communication for some of us is going to be pretty important.
There is width restriction on the lanes. And that's a good idea. We'll put something out on the website. Is that the only one you had?
I can come up with
No.
Can we have one more back here?
Yeah.
Quick question, what will be the primary hours of the construction? Will there be any after dusk, late night with spotlights work completed?
I honestly don't know. So the contractor will determine that. I assume most of it will be daylight to dusk, but there may be situations there needs to be some nighttime work or into the evening work. I don't know what their plan is. I'll give you for instance, it would not surprise me that when they're doing the cause, so I mentioned the northbound pour on the northbound lane this spring on the causeway. Let's say they do that as a one day. During that period, because of the room needed for the paver, they will have one lane. So that will be by flaggers. So southbound to clear. Once they clear, then they'll allow northbound traffic. I would imagine that they will want to finish that, and if that carries into a little later than dusk, then that might happen. I don't know what the rest of the plan is.
As we're into, May, latter May, and September and so on, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic along the highway. Will the sidewalks on one side or the other still be accessible during this?
So If they're working on southbound, the southbound sidewalk will be worked on at the same time.
Good. And then the other thought that I had is, would you like to fill us in on the cameras?
Oh, yes, thanks.
Welcome.
So, yeah, you've seen camera locations going up, or some portable cameras. They're orange. They are to monitor traffic during construction. They're solar powered, so it'll be mostly daylight until the batteries run out. And we are going to set it up so there's live feed on the website. We hope to get that going soon. So that you'll be able to find that on the Lake's website as well.
We'll say Paul has a microphone over there too, so that side of the room, if you have questions, you don't have to wait.
And if you don't have questions, that's fine too.
Could you clarify for me how much further the 3-lane comes down from around Lake Street? I'm a little fuzzy on that.
Yeah.
It kind of transitions right now somewhere around Lake Street, and it's 3-lane by Dam Road, but what's
It'll go south to 202nd, to the signal.
Okay, it's 3-lane all the way down
Yep.
to that. Could you speak to why that is viewed as an advantage here?
Sure. We typically utilize the 3 lanes for operational and safety purposes. And so when you have an undivided 4-lane and you've got a lot of left turns, you typically get a situation where that inside lane operates almost like a turn lane. We can move that turning traffic out of what is now a through lane with the 3 lanes. So you dedicate your right lane as your through lane, move your left turners over into a protected lane. It does slow traffic down, which most of the time, especially in an urban area, you see as a benefit. 3 lanes will handle, 15 to 20,000 vehicles a day. During 4th of July, even an undivided 4-lane, we have troubles with operations. We can't design the roadway. We can design the roadway for that situation, but you don't need 8 lanes for 365 days. You would need it just for a few. So when we're looking at the operation, we're looking at trying to take a whole year look at it. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay.
If there's no other questions, let's give Dakin a big hand. Thank you.
Oh, we got one.
More questions? All right. Michael?
Hey, Dakin, Michael with the City of Okoboji. One thing that I'd like to tell the folks that you hadn't mentioned was not only the email, but the text message option too. I think if you go on the same website, if I'm not mistaken, you can sign up to get text message alerts, so when things change, you'll get a text message pushed to your phone. Very similar to Davis County Emergency Management, those notifications that get pushed out. So I think that's super helpful. And then one thing that is worth mentioning that we can get excited about beyond just the construction here is the cities, Okoboji, Arnolds Park, and Iowa DOT work together to also enhance some beautification, some cohesion in the corridor. Through some green space and pavers and some things on the causeway. Dakin, could you talk more about the beautification parts of this as well?
Why don't you just keep going, Michael? Well, I mentioned on the causeway, obviously the rail is seeing a better day. We're doing, we worked with 2 communities and came up with a form liner. It's kind of a wave pattern. And then each of the communities, as far as that area in between the sidewalk and the curb, came up with something other than that rough pebble look. And it's a patterned, kind of a patterned brick. They've got a color pattern that they expressed. And I think, as far as those types of enhancements you'll see out there, being a highway person, I would say not having to look at the potholes is an enhancement, but probably not as aesthetic as what you're going to see with the other improvements along the corridor. And We realize, especially if you've been up here for 25 years, it seems like we were just here. We get that a lot. That pavement didn't hold up like we had hoped. That certainly, I'd say that's not only a true statement, that's an understatement. So we hope to get in. We want to do it right, get it fixed. We recognize the inconvenience to everybody, believe me. And it's not our goal to do that. But we got to give our contractor the room, and we appreciate the patience. Whether you know it or not, we do appreciate the patience that you give us. And I will tell you, as far as contractors, Cedar Valley is top notch. So we're excited that they've got the contract. We're excited to see the work. We want to see the outcome. We appreciate the kickoff event, but we look forward to the ribbon cutting, honestly. I mean, frankly, there's a little bit of suffering, but when it's all said and done, I think you'll really appreciate the work. I hope you do. I don't want to go through it again, and neither do you.
Dakin, we have one more quick question about the sidewalk across the bridge.
Okay.
Will that remain the same size it is, or is that going to be expanded at all?
So we talked about that. I think we're displacing it, 6 inches? 4 inches? Yeah, so it's generally going to be the same width, and part of that was looking at the emergency services during the summer. And anybody up here at any time during the summer, you know what happens is that center turn lane acts as an emergency lane a lot of times for if they have to get across. And we had talked about widening that across the causeway, so widening the west sidewalk, but that would have taken away some of that room for emergency vehicles. And with the pedestrian bridge over on the east side of that roadway, we felt it was important to leave that space for emergency services. So that's a long answer I could have just said essentially no, but.
And the community's really weighed in on that.
Yes. That is not something that we made a decision on by ourselves. That was a lot of discussion with the communities.
Any last questions real quick? All right, again, thanks John and the crew here at Arnolds Park Majestic Park for hosting us this evening. We appreciate that. Dakin with the Iowa DOT, thank you. Let's give him a hand for the presentation. And especially thank you for working with our communities and businesses. We appreciate that.
And I appreciate everybody's willingness to come out, but also the effort that the chamber, it's actually them coming to us or the communities coming to us and saying, you need to do this, you need to do that. I mean, communication isn't necessarily our strongest suit. I'd tell you that roadways are, but don't drive this one. Snow removal is our strongest suit. But we do appreciate all the cooperation. This is truly a cooperative project, cooperative effort, not only through the development and design, but also through the construction and communication effort. So we hope you appreciate it.
Okoboji Broadcast from the studios at historic Arnolds Park Amusement Park is brought to you in part by the Scott Troutman State Farm Agency in Spirit Lake, Quest Wealth Management, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, advisor Jan Spielman, AJ Spielman, and Erica Wachholz. The headquarters of the University of Okoboji is at the Three Sons, open Monday through Saturday 10 to 5 and Sunday from 10 to 4. Bank Midwest, dream big, plan wisely, live well. Lakes Regional Healthcare and Avera partner. Ruthven Locker at the lake, where carnivores are welcome on Hill Avenue in Spirit Lake. Beck Engineering in Spirit Lake. Be Radiant Laser Skin Studio in the Okoboji Plaza in Okoboji.